I know will help somebody. So let's see, while I'm sitting here, and put my seatbelt on, sitting here at the Starbucks getting me something, I want to do a quick video. And I titled this video, good morning. I titled this video Abandonment. And the reason I titled this video Abandonment is because I want to talk about abandonment issues. I think a lot of us suffer from different issues, childhood issues that seem a lot of times to creep into adulthood. And I was sitting here just like in my mind, and I started to like just go over my life and how for years I suffered with abandonment issues. And hold on, y'all. I ain't gonna keep this video, but hold on while I order this real quick. Hold on. I'm coming, y'all. I promise.
How are you?
It's gonna be good. Good morning. Can I? Yes, this me.
You getting your usual today?
Yes, my usual.
Alright, I got you all set.
Okay. That's sad. They know me at Starbucks, y'all. But and so I was writing and I was thinking, and I'm going to share my testimony because I know this will help somebody else who probably, is suffering in silence. They really don't want to talk about it because a lot of times we take these things as we are embarrassed about it. So when I was little, my mom and dad never were together. And when I was small, me and my dad had a very close relationship. And so it was me and my daddy all the time. I remember as a little girl always being with my dad. My dad will always come get me. It was a very healthy relationship. Well, at the age of 5, my dad met a young lady, and he decided to get married to that young lady, which is my stepmom. I love my stepmom to death now. But at the time, as a child, when my dad decided to get married and my stepmom came into the picture, for a 5-year-old child, it felt as if my dad had been ripped away from me. And so at that time, I could only process that as I wasn't good enough, as my daddy left me, as this lady came into the picture, and now I no longer spend time with my dad like I used to. I no longer can sleep in the bed with my daddy when I want to, how I used to. And so as a child, I processed that as abandonment, as my dad literally left me, as somebody came into the picture and took my love away from me. And so I'm going to go over to my mom's side. My mom had a boyfriend. And when my mom's boyfriend came into the picture, me and her relationship changed because she would go in the room with her boyfriend and I would be stuck in my room playing by myself. And so that was a second account of me feeling abandoned. That was a second account of me taking in when somebody comes into somebody's life, I'm no longer loved anymore. I'm no longer valued anymore. And so that happened to me twice when I was young. And so as I grew up, I found myself struggling with abandonment issues. I found myself feeling like I was not good enough in certain relationships and in certain situations because I would subconsciously, without me even knowing it, because those two incidents happened to me when I was young, and at the time I did not know how to process it. So my mind took it as I was not good enough. My mind took it as other people can come into your relationship and take away your value. So as I got older, I found myself always feeling like in relationships, if other people came into the picture, it will trigger my abandonment issues. And so fast forward to when I was married and my husband stepped outside our relationship on me. Here goes those abandonment issues being brought up again. Here goes those nobody loves me issues being brought up again. Here goes those feelings of feeling like I'm not good enough. Here go those feelings of feeling like I'm not worthy because of what happened to me as a child, and I carry that into my adulthood. And in carrying that into my adulthood, it caused for certain insecurities and issues within myself. It caused me to suffer in so many areas of my life. Hold on, y'all. Good morning. Good morning. Y'all, I'm coming. I'm sorry. Y'all see they know me at Starbucks. This is ridiculous. I'm coming, I promise y'all. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. I'm going to finish my video. I'm sorry. I probably should have waited. But yes, so that caused me to, in my adulthood, suffer with abandonment issues of dealing with people walking out of my life, people loving other people, and I felt like people would love other people more than me, because when I was young, that's what I equated that to. When it happened to me, when my daddy did it, I'm not good enough. Somebody came and took my daddy from me. Somebody came and took the love that my dad had away from me. When my mom did it, the same thing. And so going into adulthood, a lot of us have issues that we had as kids that we are now bringing into our adult lives. And it is causing us issues in certain relationships, whether you have abandonment issues, whether you have trust issues, whether you have abuse issues. It all depends on each person. And so this morning I was riding and I was thinking to myself, when those things come up, because those things are still triggered to this day, even though I know I have abandonment issues, I suffer with abandonment issues because of childhood trauma. When they come up in my adult life, it is very, 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 very hard for me to deal with them. And so I know when I feel them coming up, and when I feel not loved from my partner, or when I feel like I'm being, thank you, when I feel like I'm being abandoned again, it brings up those issues within me, and I have to then, and it's very hard. Listen, I know this gonna help somebody today. It is very, very, very hard when you have suffered for years with childhood trauma and childhood issues, and they come back up in adulthood. It is like a feeling of anxiety. It is a feeling of pressure in my chest. It is very hard, and I start going within my mind, and I start saying things like, Atara, you're not good enough. Somebody else gonna come into your relationship and take your man. It's like, it is a trigger that I cannot even describe. I cannot even explain. And so now that I'm older and I understand what I'm going through, I understand my childhood trauma. I understand that I literally carried years upon years upon years of abandonment issues. And so I am now at the age of 41 trying to reverse things that happened to me at the age of 5. And so I'm here to encourage somebody this morning that because you suffer from a childhood trauma, it does not define who you are. It is not true. The way I processed my abandonment at the age of 5, I took it as I'm not good enough. I took it as I'm not loved. I took it as I'll never be good enough. I took it as why me? Why my daddy don't love me no more? Why does he love somebody more than he loves me? Why does my mom love somebody more than she loves me? I no longer get the love that I was getting from my parents. And so the only thing that I can do at the age of 5 was process that as I was the problem, because I was at that time the common denominator. For me, I processed it as, Atara, it's you. I was 5. I didn't know. So the easiest thing for me to do was process that as it's you. You are the issue. You are the one that's not worthy of love. You are the one that's not worthy of just being the only one in the picture. You are the one that's not worthy of all of these things. And so when I started to carry those things into adulthood, it started to show up again in my relationships, because subconsciously, that's what I thought my life should be. Subconsciously, that's who I saw myself as. So it always would appear and reappear in my life, because subconsciously, that's what I thought my worth was. I thought that I was not worthy of being loved properly because that happened to me in my childhood. And so when I got in adulthood and it happened to me in relationships, it then again took away more from my self-esteem. It then again started taking away from me feeling like I'm not worthy, from me feeling like I'm not good enough, from me feeling like I have to compete with other motherfuckers. Because at the time, when my dad and my mom did it, I felt like I was in a competition with my stepmom. I felt like I was in a competition with my stepdad for love. And so, as an adult, a lot of women find themselves in competition when there's no competition. There's no competition. You should never feel as if you are in competition with somebody else, because you are good enough, because you are worthy. And so I found myself always saying, okay, is he gonna like her more? What can I do to prove my love? What can I do to make me feel like the love is going to be there in these relationships? And now that I know that, and I can recognize that, and I know what triggers me, and I know what takes me back to those childhood memories and back to that childhood trauma, I now as an adult can deal with it. It is very hard. It is not easy dealing with childhood trauma. And a lot of people don't like to talk about this because it's embarrassing. We show up to the world and we don't want people to know our insecurities. We don't want people to know we suffer from low self-esteem. We don't want people to know we suffer from not being worthy. We don't want people to look at us like that because we wear it as an embarrassment. But for me, I wear it as a badge of honor now, because I've gone within myself and being able to overcome it in my adulthood, being able to recognize it, being able to understand that it was not me. It was just the 5-year-old me processing things that were happening to me. And that does not define who I am. It does not define how beautiful I am. It does not define whether or not I'm worthy of love. It does not define whether or not my man can only love me. It does not define whether or not I should be in a relationship with a man that cheats on me because I feel like I'm not good enough. Understand something. When you address those issues, and a lot of people don't like to address those issues, because I almost started crying right now, because thinking about it, reliving that is very hard. And so understand that when those issues come up into adulthood, because they still come up into adulthood right now to this day sometimes, and I had to have a conversation with my boyfriend on yesterday, because there was an incident that happened that triggered something in me to make me feel unworthy. It triggered the childhood trauma in me. And so I had to share with him, like, babe, you can't do that, because it puts me in a place that I don't like that feeling. I don't like that feeling of being abandoned. I don't like the feeling of not feeling worthy. So there are certain things that trigger me, that put me back into that place. And so in my relationship now, I want to have a healthy relationship. So I have to learn how to be okay with letting my partner know that I suffer from these things. I have to be okay with being open and honest and saying, babe, listen, this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me. This is how I processed it. This is how I took it. And so certain things moving forward in our relationship, I want us to have a healthy relationship. And so this is what's going on. You got to learn how to talk and be open. Some of y'all are so embarrassed about what happened to you as a child. You are allowing it to hold you back from the amazing person that you are. It is okay to talk about it. Listen, we all suffer through something. That's why I get on here and I say stuff like this, because I know that there is somebody else who is scared to tell their story. There is somebody else who's suffering from the same thing, but you feel embarrassed. You feel like if people know, they gonna judge you, they gonna talk about you. Listen, I don't care. I'm going to speak for those people that suffer from the same thing I suffer from those women that sometimes don't feel worthy, for those women that sometimes feel like they are abandoned, for those women that sometimes feel like that people don't love them. And it's not that people don't love you. It's that we got to love ourselves first enough to know that we are worthy. We are good enough. We are all of those things. And because something happened to you as a child, because something happened to you in a relationship, it does not define who you are. It does not. And I know sometimes things can trigger that. And we sometimes don't have healthy relationships. I found myself in relationships with men not having healthy relationships because of what I went through as a child. I found myself being okay with being mistreated because I felt like I just had to prove my love and prove myself and give so much of myself because of what happened to me. And so I'm now 41 years old. And I still suffer from that. I still have residual leftover emotions and feelings from that. And in order for me to move on in a happy relationship, I got to know within myself that I'm worthy. I got to know it. I can't look outside of me for that to be fulfilled by my boyfriend. My boyfriend cannot fulfill that for me. He can enhance it, but he cannot feel self-worthiness for me. He cannot fulfill self-love for me. And so I will always go outside of myself and look for that. And that's not outside of me. That's within me. And so now when I feel that way, self-talk is one of the most powerful tools anybody could ever use. It has literally saved my life. Self-talk has literally saved me from taking my life. Self-talk has literally saved me from killing somebody before. Self-talk has literally saved me from going into the nut house before. And so I now know how to go within myself and have self-talk and speak life into myself and say that childhood trauma that I experienced will not have control over my life. It will not have control over my future. It will not have control over my relationships. It will not have control over who I am. And you literally have to sit back. I literally have to sit back some days. And I be so on edge. I be so with anxiety. I be so with sometimes going down a hole where I don't feel worthy. And it's only in my mind. It's only in my mind. Only in my mind. It's not in nobody else's mind. It's only in your mind. You play that over and over and over and over and over again in your mind until you start believing that you're not worthy. And you only telling yourself that. Nobody else is telling you that. And so I have to literally go inside myself and say, Atara, I recognize my childhood trauma coming up. You are worthy. That is not the truth. That is not what is happening right now. You are this, you are that. I just have to start speaking affirmations. I have to literally calm myself down because it starts giving me anxiety. It starts attacking me in certain areas. It starts playing tricks on my mind. It starts to make me believe my boyfriend don't love me. It starts to make me believe that I'm not worthy. It starts to make me believe, oh, you're not pretty. Oh, you're not fine enough. Oh, your hair not long enough. Oh, your skin not clear enough. Those are things that literally come up here and there throughout my adulthood because of the things that I suffered in the past. And my mom and dad never stopped loving me, but that's how I processed it as a child. And so it spills over into adulthood. And so I just want to encourage somebody this morning that it's not childhood trauma. It's very hard to deal with, but I promise you, you can get over it. Childhood trauma does not define you. Childhood trauma, 9 times out of 10, is not even true. You took it one way, but that was not even the situation that was at hand. That is how your child mind processed it, and so you now believe that you're not worthy. Even with sexual abuse, a lot of people that were sexually molested or abused as children believe that that's what their body is used for, that they're not good enough. And that your only thing that happened was at the time when it happened to you as a child, that is how your mind processed it. But that is not the truth. It does not mean that you're not good enough. It does not mean that you're not worthy. It does not mean that your body is only good for sex. It does not mean that people don't love you. It does not mean that people don't value you. It does not mean any of those things that you tell yourself to get over and to deal with the trauma at the time that you went through it. Listen, y'all, we need to make childhood trauma a thing of the past. Do not let it or do not allow it to ruin great relationships. Do not allow it to ruin who you are. Do not allow it to define you. Do not allow it to give you self-esteem. Do not allow it to have power over your life, because you are more powerful than your childhood trauma. So I love y'all. Have an amazing day. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Let me see if I could build a